Currently, I'm looking over the city of Argenton-sur-Creuse in the department of Indre. It's still part of central France. Why have I come here this morning? Well, I've just come here just for the view at dawn. I found a particular viewpoint that overlooks the city, and I thought it would give me a good starter for 10 for dawn and the start of my day for this week's vlog. After here, I'm going to go off into more of the Indre and discover some of the little delights that are in the southern part of Indre, and then I'm going to cross over into the department of Creuse, see what I can find there before the end of the day. I'm going to head off to where there's a little meander in the river Creuse, and there's an old castle that overlooks the river itself. So until then, I'm just going to get on with my shot here. Dawn is going to be happening in about probably 10 minutes time. It's certainly getting a little bit colourful up in the sky there at the moment. So as you can see, I'm set up. I do have a pre-dawn shot already. I don't think the actual dawn is going to work because the camera's looking nearly straight into the sun, so it's going to cause quite a lot of contrast there in the scene, but I'm happy with what I got so far. So here we are. This is the beginning of the day, Argenton-sur-Creuse, and coming up more of the Creuse and more of Indre, so stay tuned. I thought I'd just give you a quick rundown of what it is that I've got here overlooking the city of Argenton-sur-Creuse. So you might be able to see in the back of my camera there, the histogram is peaking towards the right there as the sun, which is just here, is starting to come up in probably about 5 minutes time. So as I said, it's quite a high contrast scene. On the front of my camera, it was the Canon 6D as my usual dawn or sunset camera. There's the Canon 70-200 f4 L lens there, and on the front there's two leaf filters holding back the sky because of that high contrast. So there's a 0.9 and a 0.3 hard grad that's helping to balance that light that is slowly coming up over the horizon at the back there. That's how I've set up my first shot. Where am I going to next? As I said, I'm going to be exploring the Indre, the southern part of Indre, and then into the Creuse as well. So you'll see coming up throughout this vlog various things coming up today. And also, since I've been back from the United Kingdom, spring has definitely sprung. Leaves are coming back on the trees, and there's also a lot of blossom around too. So I'm hoping to get some nice early spring shots when I'm out in the countryside of central France today. After having done my dawn shot in Argenton-sur-Creuse, I decided to come down to a spot that I know called La Boucle du Pas, which is a little meander in the river Creuse. It's near the Beaux village de France of Gargilesse, Dampierre. Now it's also by the side of a main road, although I am stood on the pavement at the moment. So if you do hear cars going past every so often, there's not much that I can do about it. But basically just the other side of the road there's a car park, and you can come over here and you can get this this really nice view in the French countryside. I've been here before. I've been here about, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago that I first discovered this place. I was here in the autumn and managed to get a shot, and I was kind of happy with it, but I always wanted to come back and see if I could do something different. So today I do actually have the time to try something different, and I've got my tilt shift lens on there that's keeping everything bolt upright for me. So I've got a shot, and I'm going to take another shot as the sun has come further up in the sky and is starting to side light a lot more of the scene down there. So I'm going to get my shot and give a little bit more of an explanation of what it is that I'm doing here. This is how I've set up my shots overlooking La Boucle du Pas, and you might be able to see there, that's the river there, which is meandering around, and then it goes off into the background there. There's that white dot just there is a house, so it gives a nice point of view down into the river gorge. The camera there is the Canon 6D. Attached to the front of it is a Canon 24mm tilt shift. Why use a tilt shift on this particular scene? Well, there is the house there, so it is being a little bit pedantic and keeping everything bolt upright. I don't really need it, but it's such a sharp lens, I do like it being on the front. There's two filters on the front there, well, there's actually three, sorry. There's 0.9 Lee hard grad and a 0.3 soft grad, as well as my heliopan polarizer, which is bringing back the blue sky there. Frustrating thing in the sky is the amount of contrails. So I guess around here must be on the main routes to Charles de Gaulle Airport or Orly Airport up in Paris. Aside from that, there's quite actually deep shadow which is behind the camera here in the river gorge. I could come back this afternoon maybe and get a different perspective of the light there. I might do that as my day is actually quite free today. So I'm here more as a day of discovery. There's some places I know around here that I want to go back to that I've never had time to really shoot properly. So I'm going to be doing that at the end of the day. And then the middle of the day is going to be a lot of discovery. So there's things that I've found that I'm going to be see. So let's move on to the next place, wherever that may be. After La Boucle du Pas, I thought I'd go and have a look at the other side of the river and the other viewpoint, and it's okay. I think I might go back this afternoon, I'm not sure. But I noticed that just about a kilometre down the road was an old castle, so I thought I'd come along and just sort of see what it was, whether it was worth coming along and checking it out or not. And it's okay, it's not the best, it's certainly not in the best state. I can't even remember the name of the castle. There was some information on the way in here, but whoever owns this castle, they certainly let things overgrow a bit around here by the looks of it. It does look as though there was some restoration going on somewhere or other, but it's always worth sort of looking on the map and just checking these places out, because you never know, you might find a little hidden gem in the countryside that's around you. So there you go, one of the old ruined castles that are in central France. Most of my morning seems to have been spent just sort of ambling around the countryside, not really doing a lot at all. I tried to see if there was a few places that I'd noticed on the map that were pointed out, like a ruined castle and stuff like that, and just wasn't really coming to anything at all. And I'm not exactly sure what they're alluding to on the map, but whatever it was that was there, I certainly couldn't find. So I thought I'd come and do a recce of my final shot of the day, which is here on this another meander here of the River Creuse, and there's a ruined castle behind me. Now this is somewhere that I've known about for quite a while now, and I have tried to find this spot before, and I just didn't have the time to be able to do that. But today I do have that time, and I am here, and I've been wandering around and seeing if I could find this spot, and thankfully I found it. But why come here now? Why come here in the middle of the day? Why not wait till the end of the day? As I said, it's a recce shot. I want to know exactly where it is that I'm going, because at the end of the day, when the light is fading, I need to be able to find my way out of here. So I've got my torch just in case it gets too dark. But it's very rocky around here, and there's, as you can see, there's quite a precipitous drop down there. So I need to be sure of where I'm going. So I'm just going to see if I can get a recce shot, so I know that when I come back, what lens it is that I can use, what the position is that I'm going to be in to get the optimum shot that I'm after, and kind of trying to think sort of what sort of hour it is that I need to be here. I know sunset's around 8:20, so maybe get here at least a good hour or so before, just to set up and have another wander around if I have second thoughts on my recce shot. So let's see what it is that I'm going to do with a recce. I've had a wander around just to see what it is that I could find that both interests me and also gives me a nice clean composition, or as clean as I can get at this time of year. Now, what am I talking about? It is this bush here. It is looking a bit kind of skeletal at the moment. There's no real growth coming on there. I can just about see there's some buds coming, which is a little frustrating, but I'm not going to take a pair of garden shears and hack it out just to get the composition that I want. I could move further forward into the scene, but I don't think that'll make the composition any better at all. I think it'll actually make it worse. And one of the next things that I did is I then attached my 24mm tilt shift lens to see what the scene would look like. Now, why am I going directly to this lens yet again? It's just because it's one of those ideal landscape lenses, and I can shift the lens and I can put the plane of focus in with the tilt there. So I can bring everything in, the plane of focus from the horizon back there down to these rocks here. And at the moment the camera is probably set roughly about this sort of the level that I'm going to go to. Probably might be a bit higher, maybe waist height when I come back later on. But I wanted to get that shine foot principle from the horizon back down here to these rocks here coming down, to make sure that everything is just as sharp can be. So as I said, or may have mentioned already, there's the fissure in the rock there that's going out. That's a nice leading line for me to take people into the image. And I think when it comes to the end of the day, when the sun is setting over there to the west, that should be quite nice, being side lit. I need to get here a good hour or so before, as I don't know what exactly it's going to be like when I get here, what time the sun's going to disappear below the horizon. I know sun sets at 8:20, but that's sometimes not always a good indication of when the setting sun is finished pushing the shadows across the landscape, and that's what I want. I want those nice long end of the day shadows on this particular scene. So this is Recce shot, middle of the day, very harsh light, but I'm coming back for this later on today. It's a nice day today, it's warming up quite nicely, and I think it could be a quite nice sunset tonight. Maybe a bit too clear, but as I've said before, there's nothing you can do about that. You have to take the day you're given. This is the day I'm given in this particular week. So I should be back for this later on, but in the meantime, on to somewhere else. I seem to have spent most of my day just driving around the Creuse and just getting nowhere. I thought I'd planned what should have been a good day, and it just seemed to turn into a nightmare of a day. Certainly this afternoon has just been spent aimlessly driving about, finding things, and they're just not really what I wanted at all, just not what I had envisaged, which is very frustrating. I did have another plan in mind for today, which was to go to Normandy, and I kind of thought, and I'm thinking that I should have gone to Normandy really. I saw a few things up there that I thought would have probably worked better than here today, and I'm thinking that I should have gone there. What do you do? Well, there's nothing much you can do. That's just how some days go at times. What have I done now? I'm back at La Boucle du Pas. I'm on the other side of the river from where I was this morning. There's a church which is just behind the camera there, and that is, you walk down a path and you get the other panorama over the river, which I was talking about in the clip this morning. So what I'm going to do now is, I've got my camera set up here. There's there's a 60 and there's the 24mm tilt shift lens on there, and I'm going to do a panorama of the scene that's down there in front of me to see if I can get a scene of this particular area of the Creuse. This is the view that I've got overlooking La Boucle du Pas with the river Creuse there, and as you can see, I've got my camera set up in a vertical fashion rather than horizontal. So what I can do is, you probably won't be able to see, but I can basically get the tilt shift lens and shift the lens from left to right or right to left, and just to get the whole of the river in here, because the lens isn't quite wide enough, I then had to just slightly turn the axis of the camera, but I don't think it'll be too bad. It's only the very right hand corner that's having to have that done. Now why did I do that? Because basically what I wanted to do is get the whole of the river here, so basically going around here, and then when it just disappears over into the corner there, I wanted to get the whole of that meander of the river of the Creuse there. Now I do have another idea of, which is basically just shooting the village, which is just over the other side, which I think is just actually Le Pas. So I might do a long lens shot of that and go across to the other side. But in the meantime, that's the kind of situation that I get sometimes, where you just look at a scene and it's just too nice to do just a portion of it. You have to do a panorama of the whole thing, and there we go, La Boucle du Pas in the afternoon from the other side of the river. As you can see, I've set up the final shot of the day, looking over the river Creuse down there. Over the other side of the river, that is, well, I'm not going to say where it is. All I'm going to say is it's the department of Creuse. Here is the department of Indre. so the river marks the demarcation between the two. You're probably thinking, well, he's missed the best of the light. No, I haven't missed the best of the light. I've got my shot in the bag, and now I'm just waiting to see if there might be any colour in the sky. The sun has just dipped below the horizon to the back of the camera there, so maybe, just maybe, there might be a bit of colour. I don't know. Is it worth sticking around? Well, I don't really have anything to lose, just apart from maybe half an hour or so, so we will see. But until then, until I get that final shot, what I am going to say is thank you so much to everybody that has subscribed. Thank you to everybody that has subscribed over the last week or so since the last vlog. Thank you to everybody that keeps commenting on the work that I do. I really appreciate people coming along and commenting on the work that I do. So until then, thanks again, and I will see you next week. Where is next week going to be? I'm not sure yet. I'm going to have to think about that one. I'm going to have to think and plan it very carefully. I don't want another day like today, but until then, see you next week.